Good morning, everyone. It's Brenda Quintana here. I am back from my extra long weekend. It started on Wednesday and we got back last night, and now I am recuperating from all the excitement. Last week, we went up to Canada to celebrate many things. But probably the main thing was to celebrate Caroline's graduation. That's Nicholas's girlfriend. And so we had a great time celebrating her on Saturday. And it was our 31st wedding anniversary on Wednesday, and we also celebrated Father's Day. So there was a lot of cake, and I think I probably gained 2 pounds, 2 or 3 pounds, even though I was trying to eat carefully. But sometimes you just got to eat a little cake, right? So now I am on, the next couple weeks are going to be what my husband likes to call prison rations. We eat healthy, but we definitely will watch our sugar the next couple weeks and watch what we eat, because boy, oh boy, did we ever have an abundance of food. So anyway, thank you all for being here this morning. Today is Casing Tuesday, and that's the day when we take a card out of the catalog and we give it a makeover. So let's take a look at today's card. Let me see if I can pop that up on the screen for you. Move my head over. So this card is a slimline card, which we don't do very often, but these cards will fit in an envelope that you would typically use for a bill. So they are a very common size envelope that you can pop those cards in, and they are perfectly mailable. And I love the layout of this card, because this card, you can use up a lot of your scrap pieces of paper when you make this card. So I love that a lot. And I actually did have some paper that I had a lot of 1-inch strips that I needed to use up. So we're going to be cutting up some more 1-inch strips today. I'm going to show you how to make this card. And then maybe you'd like to make your own card, and you can join us on our Casing Tuesday Facebook group. This week's card is already popped up there, so you can make along with me and create your own design and post it over on the group. Or if you just would like to see what other people have done with this design, go over to Casing Tuesday. The link is down below in the description of the video, so just click on it and go over there. So we do also have a sketch for you, and this will just give you the measurements of the card, so and so that you can kind of get an idea of the layers. I think for the most part, for the basics of the card, I use the same measurements. But I think, I didn't do the circular layer, and I didn't do a banner layer. I decided to omit the greeting layer on this card because I just didn't like the way it looked. There was just too much in too tight a space. It just did not make me happy. So when it doesn't make me happy, it gets removed, and you can do that too. So all those images can also be found over on our Facebook group. It can be found on my blog, and you can also look up the card in your catalog. If you have a physical copy, you can go to page 41, I believe it was, and check it out. So I also wanted to mention, we still have our suite sale going on. And so any product that is part of a suite, or the suite is buy one, get one 50% off. Just remember, the lowest price suite product in your cart will get the 50% off. So you have to be a little bit careful in your planning. You probably don't want to buy a big suite and then get a pack of designer series paper 50% off. It would be probably better to get 2 similar size suites and get one of the suites 50% off, rather than having a lower price item be your 50% off. So if you are taking part in the suite sale, just take a very close look at your cart to make sure, before you check out, to make sure the products, the prices align with what you were expecting, because I would hate for you to be disappointed and just check out quickly and not realize you weren't getting 50% off on a big item. If you need any help with that at all, just reach out to me. I'll be happy to help guide and help you figure out how to best take advantage of the sale. It is a good sale. It's just a little bit harder to navigate than some. All right, let's jump in and let's make this card, and I will talk to all of you at the end. Blank slate. Oh, I didn't show my card. Well, this is me showing you my card now. I had a lot of this Country Woods Designer Series paper left over in 1-inch strips. So this paper is like perfect for creating a backdrop, and it just looks like a bunch of planks. And it's such a great way to extend your Designer Series paper. 1-inch strips, typically, you can't really cover a big space with that, but if you cut them into strips and just line them up like this, all of a sudden you have a really cool pattern. And you can do this with whatever paper you have left over. The easiest way to do it is to use the same Designer Series paper as use the same Designer Series paper from the same pack, because that way it has kind of the same look and vibe, and generally it works well together. Might not work with all Designer Series papers like that, but for the most part, that's the way Stampin' Up's Designer Series papers are designed. So the other thing I'm using is, it went underneath everything. I'm going to be using the Impressions Abloom bundle, and here are the dies, and this is the stamp set, and I'm going to walk you through how I use those. I did also stamp on the inside. I kind of just did some simple stamping. I wanted to make this a birthday card because I do have a need for birthday cards more than anything. So since the stamp set does not have a birthday greeting in it, I took happy birthday out of the Unbounded Love bundle stamp set. So yeah, it's a good greeting stamp set, or you probably have a happy birthday greeting if you are a stamper at all. So just choose a birthday greeting that kind of matches the style of whatever you're going to put on the front. And then I just stamped some florals, and I didn't die cut those ones, so they were just flat. But I did die cut this one, and I'm going to show you how I did that one. Okay. Let's get started. I'm going to make this card right from the very, very beginning. We're going to use our cutter. I never cut my card bases on camera, but, sometimes I should do that in case, you're new to stamping. So I've got our cardstock comes in different ways. We have 12 by 12, and we have 8.5 by 11. And so I typically use 8.5 by 11 for cards. And I'm going to put the 11-inch side up at the top, and we're going to line this up at the 7-inch mark. And we are going to cut. This is a leftover piece. We can use it for scraps, for anything we want to do. And I am left with 8.5 by 7. So then I'm going to put the 7-inch side up at the top, and we're going to move it over to the 3.5-inch mark, get my cutting blade out of the way, and I am going to score at the halfway point at 3.5. So then let's fold this up. We're going to fold, and then we're going to grab our bone folder and smooth this down. Okay, so this is our card base. So right now it measures 8.5 by 3.5, the front. I ended up having to cut a little bit off on my end after I put my strips on. So you just need to kind of eyeball it once you've got your strips on, if you need to cut it a little bit shorter to make it look good. So I mentioned that I I made my team packets, my new team member packets out of this paper for a while. And so I was cutting 1-inch strips off the end to create my little folders. And so I ended up with a bunch of these 1-inch pieces. And so it's just very easy for me to cut them down. So what I'm going to do, bring back over my trimmer. I'm going to cut these down to 3 1/4. So I'm going to grab a new strip. I'm going to go ahead. We need 8 of these. So just line up with 3 1/4. And then I'm just going to put them over here and I'm going to flip it so I have the other side. There are potentially 12 different patterns. So you can just choose whatever patterns you want on here. What patterns will make you happy? If you don't have any leftover 1-inch strips, then you just cut 1 inch by 3 1/4 strips. But this card, I feel, is designed for using leftovers. It's a leftovers card. Let's see. I haven't used this pattern yet. I gotta pick. Yes, I think that this is this pattern. Yes. Okay. So let's move on. I did not use this pattern last time. I think this might be too much blue, so let's skip this one. I'm just thinking the blue will be a lot. So let's, oops, a little more blue. Okay, this one we haven't used yet. And I mean, I could reuse a pattern. It's not the end of the world, but I'm trying to, I don't want to compete too much with my flower color. Okay, I need 2 more patterns. I think I already did this one. Yes. I've done that one. I don't think I've done this one. Let's do this one. 3 1/4. And 3 1/4. Okay. So now I have slightly fewer scraps. I'll just stick those back in my Designer Series paper pack. And now we're going to build our card. So, you know, I ended up with this dark strip. I put it on the end for a reason. You know, it truly doesn't really matter how you do your card, but I'm gonna kind of just, I'm not randomly doing this, I'll tell you that, but I am kind of spreading them out a bit. Okay, so that's how I'm gonna do my layers. Okay, so we're gonna start, my glue's here. I'm going to start here. And I'm going to start on the end. I find it easier to line up like this. So I am going to just eyeball this. You want it straight along here, and you want equal distance, like this distance, and this distance should all be approximately the same. And then we take our next piece and we add it. Now, because I was hand cutting these, I could be off maybe by 16th or 32nd. So, you know, these might not be identical 100% lengths. If that does bother you, if you want them to all be the same length, then what I would suggest is gluing these to a piece, cutting them to 3 1/2. First of all, instead of 3 1/4, and then using a piece of computer paper and lining them up on that, gluing them to the computer paper, and then cutting them with a cutter afterwards so they cut one side a little shorter and then cut the other side to 3 1/4, and then you'll have perfect lengths of paper, and that might be easier to do if you want perfection. I don't mind if, in this case, because these patterns are pretty neutral, I really don't mind if they're off just a teeny tiny bit. But so far, I have to say, I think I did better with this card than I did with my last card. So there you go. And I'm getting close to the end. And we'll see. I think I'll need to cut off a little bit on this one as well. And one more. You can do this kind of paper piecing with a regular size card too. So yeah, I will need to cut off a little bit. So let's just do that. I think it's gonna be 8, and probably it's gonna end up being about, I took about 1/8 of an inch off. So instead of 8.5, this is gonna be 8 3/8. So if you wanna start with that, you can do that, but it just kind of depends how much you leave on this end, and that way you can kind of eyeball it to cut it off. All right, so we have our card base. Even this looks kind of cool. Just the patterns alone makes for a nice masculine backdrop. You can, do different flowers, but I am going to do, let me find my little scraps. They have gone under other things. So we need to stamp a flower here. And I'm going to use Darling Duckling and Timid Tiger. These are 2 of our new in colors. I'm going to stamp in Timid Tiger first. I'm going to use this one right here. And I'll just tell you a little trick with this particular flower. There is one petal right here and right here that kind of sticks out a little bit awkwardly. I shouldn't say awkwardly. It's just a little bit different than the rest, and that's what I'm using to line things up. I even put these on the blocks kind of in the same location, so I kind of would pay attention to that. So I'm going to stamp this orange first, Timid Tiger. Let's just let that dry for just a moment. And then we're going to also stamp, this circle right here. Nope, we don't want this one. This one, the smooth one. We're going to stamp this one. Make sure all the ink's off of that. In yellow, or Darling Duckling. Okay, we'll let that one dry too. And then we're going to come back in with this one. This is, I stamped the detail, and now I'm going to stamp the bold. And on this one, I stamped the bold, and then I'm going to do the detail. It just kind of depends on the stamp. And then we're just going to turn this so it is in the correct direction. And then stamp that down. Okay. And then you can practice this, like, I can see I was a teeny tiny bit off. That's okay. It's kind of like it's not a very perfect flower, so it probably is very little noticeable, but if you want to, you can practice stamping this. Also, it really helps to hover your head over top, and I didn't want my head in the way too much. So sometimes it's hard if you can't get directly over the top. I'm going to use Early Espresso, and there is a die to cut this little guy out, but it leaves a little bit of white space around it, and I didn't want any white space around my flower center. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually hand cut that, because sometimes it doesn't make me happy to like sometimes you want white space and sometimes you don't. So I'm going to cut this by hand. And don't worry, it is not a circle that needs to be perfect. This is a flower center and it's round-ish. Round-ish, not perfectly round. Okay, we are going to add some texture to that though. Now let me see. I think that's all I need to do for now. So let's grab our die cutting machine. I'm trying to see. I don't need to die cut anything large, so we can use our mini. I did put in the supply list for this card, I did put the full-size machine, but if you are starting out and you don't care if you're going to be a little bit limited in what you can make, you can get our mini machine, but it is only, I think it's 3.5 across. Let's see. You can't die cut anything larger than about 3.5 wide. So that's why it's limiting, especially if you want to make, sometimes you need it for fancy fold cards, you need the extra width, and sometimes for boxes and stuff that I make, it is also doesn't work. So we're going to use our mini machine to die cut the flowers. I'm going to use my light gray plate because my machine is a tight machine. If you can try your machine out when you get it, you might be able to use the #1 recommended platform, but if your machine's a tight machine like mine, switch to the light gray and you will be much happier. And then we'll put one cutting plate on the bottom and one cutting plate on the top. And we're going to grab our little flower. We're going to grab the die. I'm going to do a couple of things here. So first of all, we're going to die cut this little flower. Let me stand up. I like to, when I am die cutting, I do like to stand. I'm going to pin this with a little bit of labeling and cover up tape. It's like the top of a Post-it note, just so it doesn't shift while I put the plate on top. If you're careful, you do not need to do this step. Okay, I think that's close enough. And then we will run this through. My whole table shakes when I do this, sorry. Okay. So we have our little die cut flower. We'll send this back. And to create some more texture for this flower, we are going to add this piece. This has texture. You can technically do both at the same time, but it's a little hard to get them both aligned perfectly unless you use something like there is a, I'll show you in a second. Let me get this through. I have done this if I've had to do a lot of these together with the texture and the outline all at once. See, now I've got a little bit of texture as well as the two-step stamping, so I really like that. But if you ever have to do, it's called press and seal, this stuff. Let me bring it over. Press and seal. You can press and seal your dies together on the non-cutting side and get them aligned, and then they will stay together and you can use them over and over again, and that way they won't shift all the time. You won't have to position them over and over again. So I do that when I'm having to do a lot, but more work if I'm just doing a few. I'm going to use this little die right here because we've already cut it out. This just is going to give it a little texture. You probably can't see it as well on camera, but for someone that's getting it in person, these are just the little details that will make the card look better. Okay, so this will be my little flower center. And I'll just put that over there. And then we need to also cut leaves. and they are right here. We're going to use these ones. I did a little die cutting for us so that you wouldn't have to watch me do this forever. There's some teeny, oh, this is going crooked. Come back. There we go. There are also some small little blue flowers on my piece. So I die cut those earlier, and I did cut a second set of leaves out because I want one extra leaf. So this just cuts it. It has texture and everything right off the bat. It's kind of nice. Okay, I believe I have everything die cut that I need. So we'll just put this off to the side for a moment. Bring my chair back. It's like rolled halfway across the room. That would have been not funny if I had sat down on the floor. Okay, let's put these back. All right, so this is the original card, and now we're going to be building this card here. So let me see, will this cover up the white space? I know originally, I think what I'm gonna do, let's bring in, I'm gonna bring this back in. I don't want any white peeking out, so I'm gonna grab this little guy right here, this circle, and I'm just gonna cover that so at least there's no white. It's okay if a little yellow will peek out, but if it's white, it's gonna look like there's a gap there, and I don't want that. Okay, so first of all, we're gonna add this flower here. And the way we're gonna add it is we're just gonna put glue in the center on the back, and we're not gonna put glue along the petals because I want to be able to tuck in my greenery. So let's grab some of this and try and use little adhesive. Okay, and then we're just gonna slide this in. So it kind of goes along here. And then I cut some extra leaves earlier because I wanted an extra leaf. So let's just cut off one more leaf. Doesn't have to be perfect because that end is going to be tucked under. So why die cut two perfectly good leaves when I can just grab an extra leaf there? This little guy, I'm gonna grab a mini dimensional. I have these, you can use white ones if you want, but I have these little black ones. I'm gonna use one of those, and we'll just stick that on the back. And then we'll add that to here. And I'm just gonna kind of press around the edges so the edges kind of come down so it looks puffy, but you almost can't quite see underneath it. But the little dimensional in the center will help lift it up just a little tiny bit. Okay, and then I die cut some of these little teeny tiny blue flowers that I added onto here. They're almost inconsequential, but they add to the all over look of the card. So for these, to give them a little bit more of a center, I just grabbed a pecan pie Stampin' Blends, and I just do a little dot in the center. Oops. And that just highlights the center of the flower, gives it a little bit of depth. And then we just pop on some glue exactly where we want our little flowers to appear. And then I'm just going to pick these up and plop them in place. And if you have like a stylus tool or something like that, you can just kind of kind of just give them a little press to make sure that they stay in place. So there is the front of the card. So I did not do a greeting on the front. I didn't like it. You know, the original card, where are we? The original card, let me pull that one back out. There's the original card, and they did put a greeting on there. But honestly, like, I don't know. I feel like for my card, it just didn't work as well. And I just liked it like this. So, you know, I'm allowed to make some changes. There's no rules. You have to follow it exactly. So for the inside here, I'll just follow along when I'm making the insides. So I kind of do the same thing. I actually started off with the greeting, a happy birthday. You just need to make sure that you leave enough room for the flowers. So you kind of just need to, yeah, like maybe about there. Okay. And then close up. Oh, I need that again. Haha. Close it up, but I need it. Okay, let's grab some Timid Tiger. And we're going to use the same floral that we used earlier. And I'm going to plop that there. And then I'm going to use one of the smaller florals. And we're going to put one here. And then we're also going to put one up in the top corner there, just to give it some balance. And then we'll come in with our darling duckling. And this is the petal that, you know, is kind of sticking out. Okay. I did a better job on that one. Now this one, I think there is one petal. This one has kind of a bigger double petal than that one. And I think this one here is the biggest double petal. So I'm going to use that as my guide. Hover, hover, hover. Twist, twist, twist. Oh, pretty good. Okay, and we'll do the same for here. Okay. So I don't want to see a big white center, so I'm also going to do this. I'm just going to take the intensity off and just stamp all the circles. And there is a smaller circle, but for this it doesn't really matter, so I'm just covering that circle. It's not going to make the flower too much darker. And then I can come in with Early Espresso and finish off those flowers. Okay. See, there's a teeny tiny bit of a gap, but it is yellow and not white under there, so it makes it not look bad. And then we'll use the smaller center for these ones. And that is all there is to it. This is the brilliance of two-step stamping. I can make beautiful flowers without knowing how to draw. So this just really takes the work out of creating those flowers. And I like the three. I think that's very useful. So here we have our flower on the outside, and then this is the inside, and it's just ready to write in. And you can mail it with just a regular long skinny envelope. And if it's no more bulky than mine, it will be it should be just regular postage if you're mailing it in the US. So there you go. And don't feel like you can't, when you're doing Casing Tuesday, you can't change things up. You know, I did not like the greeting layer on mine. It just didn't look good. And so it just got eliminated. It was just like too much all the way down. And I don't know why on the original card, if we go back to the original card, I don't know why it looks okay there, and it just did not make me happy. Maybe because the paper is busier in the background, but yeah, it's just, on the original card, the florals actually also kind of disappeared just a little bit into the background. So I think maybe that's why, because my flower was more contrasting with the rest. But anyway, both cards are beautiful, and you can turn this into whatever you want. You don't have to do a flower. I just hadn't used Impressions in Bloom yet, so I wanted to add it to a card. And you can put whatever you want there. You choose a different set. It can be an animal. It can be like a human figure. You know, you can put whatever you want in the space on top of that designer series paper. So that is all there is to it. Well, if you have made it this far and you're not already subscribed to my YouTube channel, I hope you will subscribe or leave me a comment or give me a thumbs up. I would appreciate all those things. The sweet sale is going on all of June, but some of the sweets might sell out before then. So if you're wanting to get the full advantage of the sweet and then the 50% off sweet, order sooner rather than later. I got back last night. I have not even checked to see what is out of stock right now. It could be a lot of sweets are out of stock. I am not even sure. Just remember, if a sweet is out of stock, it might still have its bundle that is in stock, and it might still have like the paper and the other elements of the sweet might be in stock. So you can click on, when you click on a suite, there is usually a listing of all the products that are in the suite that you can click on individually too. All right, let's say hello to all of you this morning. Good morning, Valerie. Good morning, Nancy. Good morning, Tanya. Hello, cutie puppies, other AKA T. Hello. I didn't want to out your name earlier in earlier videos because I didn't know that you would be okay with that, but I will say hello, T. Oh, and thank you for the anniversary wishes, Tanya. And hello, Mary. And T says, let them eat cake. I know, right? Oh, we had, I think almost every day we had dessert. It was a lot of abuse, a lot of sugar abuse, I feel. So yes, we are going to scale back this week because it's, yeah, too much. As you get older, you can tolerate that amount of sugar a lot less. Hello, Nola. And yes, we had a very busy week. And I slept well last night, but I am still tired. I think because I have to do a bunch more running around today. I have to go grocery shopping right after this because we have nothing green left in the fridge. I pretty much emptied it out. I cut up all the vegetables that were remaining and froze them. There is really nothing left to make a salad with, so I have to go so I can make lunch today. So I will be heading out here shortly after this. Hello, Marianne. Hello, Deirdre. So yes, Deirdre, this would fit in a standard, I guess, is it a letter size envelope? It is, I'm not sure what a legal envelope is. So I have, let's see, these ones here are, it would fit inside here. This one's 9.5 across by 4. So this is just the kind of the regular kind that you would fit a bill in. So my card got chopped down just a little bit. So this one is 8 3/8 by 3.5. So you just kind of need to find out how big the envelope is and just make sure it's slightly bigger than that. But These are they used to be very common envelopes. Now most of us pay bills online through our bank, so we don't have these envelopes probably on hand anymore, but any office supply store or should have these envelopes. And if you can't find them, I will absolutely send you a link to where you can find them. Just reach out to me separately, because I will need to spend a moment and do that. Okay. Hello, Cindy. Oh, and T answered your question anyway, so good. Hello, Karen. And Karen says she wishes Stampin' Up! Would bring back slimline envelopes. Yes, they were nice. The slimline envelopes that Stampin' Up! had the opening on the short side, so it was a little different, and that was kind of a nice difference. Hello, Jeanne, and hello, Candy, and she's listening while she works. Hello, Nalita. To correct the little space in the flower, a marker can be used. That's true too. You could use a little marker. That I just always forget to use markers, and I had the stamp handy, so yay that. Oh, it's nice to see friends on here. That's kind of cool. And Nancy says, now I know what I can do with those 5 packages of designer series minus the one design. So yeah, that's a good point. You can use up all those little tiny scraps, Nancy. Nancy creates cards for a cafe. And that cafe has a wall that looks like one of the patterns on the Country Woods Designer Series paper. So yeah, you can line up all your little scraps. And even if they're not all the same size, you can do that too. And that will help use up some of your pieces. Hello, Diane. And Catherine says, I love the card. And she says, thank you, and that I'm the best. And she loves my creativity. Aw, you're so sweet, Catherine. Thank you. Thank you, all of you, for being here today, even though I am keeping my eyes open just barely this morning. I think I'm going to go grocery shopping. I might take a nap, and yeah, that's my day for today. I have other things I need to do too, but it was great having you here this morning. I will be back on Friday with a 3D project, and so hopefully you will join me Friday morning for that. Thank you, Bonnie. She says, great card. So everyone have a great week. Check out the sweet sale. And I have not designed Friday yet, but I'm sure it will be good. So I hope to see some of you on Friday. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.